Quick entry. TroopMaster Web has the ability to quickly get members into your database for both your scouts and adults. Let's take a look at quick entry for scouts. Go to Scouts and then Quick Entry. In the earlier video discussing user groups permissions, we created a group called New Members. Let's go ahead and select that group. And you have the option to auto-generate passwords for each user that you add here. You can also email each user their login settings. Let's go ahead and add a couple scouts. Well, let's just call him Scout and Scout 1 and Scout 2. I know that's not very creative, but we'll get the idea of what's going on here. And then let's just add an email address so I can get those settings. And we'll just make one up for this scout. Okay, and then so Scout 1 and Scout 2 will get added to the new members group, and we'll take a look at that in a minute in case you didn't see the video on creating user groups. And we're just going to automatically generate passwords for them, and it's going to email each user their login settings. Go and click Add Members. Okay, you can see that Scout 1 and Scout 2 were added to the database. Let's go back and take a look at that new members group just to refresh our memories of how that's set up. Let's go to File, User Groups, Permissions. And click on New Members. And you can see here we gave those scouts right permission for adults, medical, awards, leadership and training, and also right permission to scout parents. And we need to change this one because we want the scout to be able to add his own parents to the system, so we don't have to do that later. So let's change this to add/delete. Then he has right access to his medical, his advancement, his leadership, and his training. Okay, and they have access to themselves and their child. So since these are scouts and they only have access to themselves or their child, they don't have any children, and they only have access to themselves, so the adult permissions don't really count here. But if we were adding new adults, they would be able to write to their own record. So both the new scouts and the new adults could be added to the new members group and enter their own information. So let's go ahead and save this group because we did make this change. Okay, and that's saved. And then let's go ahead and log in as Scout 2. So we're going to log in as Scout 2 and we'll see exactly what he's allowed to do. So we'll go ahead and log out. And then we're going to log back in as Scout 2. Okay, so now we're logged in as Scout 2. Let's go take a look and see what he has access to. Let's go to Scouts and Scout Management. As you can see, he only has access to himself, but we did give him write access to all of his personal and advancement information, so he can go fill this in, and then when he's done, as administrator, I can go in and review all this information and then switch him to a password group where he doesn't have access to modify his advancement any longer. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the personal info screen. He can come in and he can give himself a picture. Okay, so his picture's assigned. He can type in his address. That's fine. Palmyra, Virginia, 22963. His home number, cell phone number, and he can fill out all this information for you. Let's go ahead and save this. He can also come in and fill in all his emergency contact info. And he can add his own parents. So add a parent. He can either select a member that's already in the database, or he can add a new member to the database. So he's his guardian. It's the same household as a scout, so they live in the same house, and it'll fill in all that information that you've already typed in. You can put in his name. His last name is 2, and just call him Dad. And we can add and Mom. Okay. So now he's come in and he's done all this work for you. He's put in his own information. He's put in his father's information, his mother's information, his emergency contact. He can also fill in any training courses that he's had, vehicular information, and things like that. In addition to that, he should also have access to the advancement screens. So he can quickly come in and just fill in all his dates for his scout rank, his tenderfoot second class, first class. He can fill in his merit badges and partial merit badges and special awards, anything that he's earned in the past. And when he's done, he can come to you and say, hey, I've put in all my information. And then you as administrator would come in, verify that information is correct, and then switch him to a group to where he no longer has access to make changes to those fields that you do not want him to. So let's go ahead and log out as Scout 2. And log back in as the administrator. Okay, so we would come in, look at his information. Yes, it all looks good. Look at his advancement. I see that all looks okay. And then we would just switch him to another group. So we go to User Groups Permissions. Open up the Scouts group, because that's the group we want to move him to, now that all his information is correct. And then just add Scout 2 to that group. and save the group. So now he's been moved to the Scouts group where he only has read permission to all these areas. So from this point forward, when he logs in, he will not be able to make changes to those areas anymore. And we also have quick entry under the adults. You can do the same thing. Have them enter their information, give them right access to themselves, and then they can go in and make all these changes. And then when they're done, you just switch them to a group to where they can't make those changes anymore, and you didn't have to type any of the data. They took care of that themselves.